Today I want to do something that's a little bit different for you. I want to talk to you about long-term trusts, beneficiary-controlled trusts, and dynasty trusts where the client's goal is to preserve or perpetuate or protect wealth for typically more than one generation. But I also want to talk to you about our experience in finding out who does these and why, and how you might be able to use that in your own practices and in your own marketing, because we've been pretty meticulous about studying exactly who does these, why they do it, why they tell us they come in, and what they tell us was useful and good and beneficial to them when they leave. And I have 9,000 clients, so we have a pretty good experience over about 29 years. Somebody was making fun of me because it says in the bio, I guess, more than 29 years. I'd like to keep a little mystery. And so we have a lot of data over a large number of people. And I'm fortunate to live in an area like you do where there's a fairly significant amount of concentrated wealth. But it's a very diverse area, so I could talk to you a little bit about who's making these decisions for a lot of different reasons. I want to give you the information that you need to know to be able to assist your clients no matter what area you're working in. And I will tell you this, if you're not the lawyer and you're giving them some of the information that I'm going to give you today and some of the ways of thinking about these things, you're going to get more credit than the lawyers do anyway. When they're sitting at the table, fathers are motivated by this for their daughters, and they say, they don't say this, but you can tell that as for the sons, they're on their own, you know. But my daughter, nobody's going to take that away. And mothers are extremely motivated to protect their sons. And I'm not going to say they don't care about the daughter, but it's the son being taken advantage of by some shrew that seems to, you can still say shrew. I mean, I know we're in California. I don't think any of that is true. So here's where we get to, though. When we get them in the door, which I'm going to encourage you to explore the divorce protection angle, so that whatever kind of marketing you do, whether you're appearing and talking about it, whether you're doing a webcast, whether you're writing a report, Brenda is brilliant at all this marketing, so I don't want to like drive people to you and make your phone ring constantly for marketing advice, but one of the things that Brenda does is everything she does is designed strategically to both attract the right kind of person and to weed out the wrong kind of person. So if you feel after today that you want to be building in beneficiary-controlled trusts, the dynasty trust as part of the discussion with your clients to give them value, even if you're not providing that legal service directly, you should be saying, who of my best clients, my favorite clients, is that going to appeal to? And Brenda and I, when we write these things, when we write copy a lot of times, and when we implement these, we do both. We say, here, if you meet these criteria, this is probably for you. By the way, this is not for you if these 3 or 4 things are the case. And the who's it for and who's it not for are designed specifically to both attract the right kind of person and to repulse the wrong kind of person. So what I'm telling you in my experience is that the right kind of person for dynasty trusts and beneficiary-controlled trusts, long-term trusts, and we'll talk about both of them, are people who have wealth in excess of the exclusion. So, you know, more than $5 million for an individual, and generally speaking, more than $11 million. Now, that's not investable assets. For those of you in the finance world, the way we trust and estates lawyers measure that is a totally different beast, because we're including life insurance they own in their own name. We're including, you know, all of these things that are not investable assets, but that are part of their net worth, the way we calculate it. So when they come to see you, what do you need to discuss with them if they're interested in this or if they fall into that category where it might be beneficial to them? Well, if somebody has living grandchildren, then talking about a generation skipping trust makes sense to them, and a dynasty trust that's going to perpetuate assets. What most people tell me when I first broach it is this: well, I really want to protect the kids, and it's their job and their obligation to then protect their children. So they think when we talk about generation skipping and we talk about dynasty trusts that we're actually going to do what the words say. I know that's weird that the clients would think that. But when you talk about generation skipping, they think you're going to skip their kids. So, and we found this, almost everybody we talked to that had been to prior counsel said, oh no, the minute they brought that up, I said no, because I don't want to skip to my grandchildren. And our response to that is to say, okay, well, what if it went into a trust where your kids could use it, and by the way, it was protected for them in the event they got divorced, had business liability, or got into a car accident and had claims in excess of their policy limits? What if they could get all the benefit of it during their lifetime, the kids, but then it would go down to the grandchildren, and the kids couldn't leave it to a second or third wife or off into somebody else's family? All of a sudden, that's transformed. They want it. They've told 2 or 3 lawyers over 20 years that they want nothing to do with generation skipping, planning, dynasty trusts, or long-term trusts. Just because I presented it in a slightly different way, they're all about it. And that is where you could bring value, whether you're a lawyer, an accountant, or on the financial planning side. That's where you could bring real value to the client, because you're telling them about something that has been accidentally misrepresented to them or they've misunderstood. And I get it. When lawyers and accountants and financial planners talk to people about generation skipping, we struggle to understand it and to stay up on it. So it's uncomfortable to talk to lay people who don't spend all their time studying this and trying to explain it. But we've done a bad job of it historically, and if you could find a way to make it clear to them that they could let their kids have all the benefits of this. One of the ways I've explained this to people is to say, the touchstone of really brilliant planning by affluent, wealthy families for hundreds of years has been to have control and use of the asset without ownership and control that's sufficient to let somebody take it away from you. You have the use of the asset, you could have the fun with the asset, but it cannot be taken away from you. So this is how I explain dynasty trusts and beneficiary controlled trusts to clients, is if we're going to control where it goes after the next generation dies, we are doing that to give them the use of it and asset protection, and then pass that on to the next generation and the next generation.